My name is Perla Flores, and I'm the Division Director for Domestic Violence, Sexual Assault, and Human Trafficking Programs for Community Solutions. Well, actually, when I started working with this organization back in 2003, I started as the coordinator for the domestic violence shelter. And a few months after that, I was promoted to Assistant Division Director and also overseeing sexual assault programs. And at that time, I'd never heard of human trafficking. And one of the domestic violence service providers convened a forum to discuss human trafficking and what was happening here at a local level, given that this was 2003 and it had been 3 years rather since the Trafficking Victim Protection Act had just passed. And so I'd never heard about this issue, and we started having a dialogue around it. It was very intriguing for me. And the other reason that the domestic violence service providers became involved in this issue and actually provided the impetus to form the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking is that we realized two things. One, we always work on issues of violence against women, we don't silo the issues like domestic violence is here, sexual assault here, human trafficking here. We see these issues as symptoms of a larger issue, which is based in and rooted in gender-based violence and violence against women in general. So that if we're going to serve women comprehensively, then we have to address all forms of violence against women, which includes human trafficking. And the second piece that we notice is that a lot of the cases that were coming in to our shelters that were being women that were being supported through our sexual assault programs were also what we consider intersection cases, where there's domestic violence, but there's also co-occurring labor trafficking. There's domestic violence, but there's also co-occurring sexual assault or human trafficking and sexual assault. And so we realized that we needed to be involved in this issue for those two reasons, and that our organizations were really naturally positioned to provide support for human trafficking survivors because A, we already have access to the resources that survivors would need, like emergency shelters, confidential advocates, peer counseling, advocacy, therapy, etc., and that the philosophy that we uphold as service providers in terms of being victim-centered, trauma-informed, and empowerment-focused also easily apply to human trafficking survivors as well. I am overseeing programs for domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking survivors, and that includes the direct services as well as prevention and outreach efforts.